Let me ask you about Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Mike Silver says the Niners have offered him $26 million a year. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's enough? Do you think they should up their offer? What do you think?
I think that's fair. I do. I think that's fair for how they use him, right? His talent probably could demand more on another team, but on the 49ers, 26 million is about what he's probably that's probably the peak of what he's worth for the 49ers. The thing is though, it's just like for one, kind of timely how that was released by Mike Silver right now, right? Where the heat's coming down on the Niners, extend Brandon Ayuk, extend Brandon Ayuk. Oh, well, we offered him 26 million. It's kind of like they put it
Right.
out there in the hemisphere so people understand. But really, what it's about, and it's kind of like with Trent, it's like same thing with Christian. We don't know how much guaranteed money that means for Brandon Ayuk. We just know it's 26 million, and 26 million. Maybe Brandon Ayuk's cool with 26 million, but what guarantee are they offering him? Which is what it seems like a lot of players throughout the NFL really care about because that's the money you can count on.
Yeah, I feel like this report, the effect of it is to make the Niners look better. Like, I think Ayuk's kind of been trying to make them look cheap. And $26 million a year is not a cheap offer. Maybe it's not exactly what he's worth, but it makes him look a lot better. Like, hey, I mean, we haven't given him everything he wants, but we're making fair, competitive offers, and he's rebuffing us. Now I look at the situation more as like, well, seems like Ayuk is really dug in. He's the one who's not negotiating, and he might not want to be. He's the one who's being a little bit more difficult than the Niners. Like 26, I wouldn't have been surprised if they said 24. 26 is a good offer.
That's because there's more to it, which I've been reporting for a long to it. There's more things at play here than just money for Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, money is the most important. If they hit 30 million, Brandon Ayuk would sign and we'd be good to go, assuming they give him the right guarantee. But Brandon Ayuk has not a Shannon,
No,
right? He's not in the Cabo clique. He
no,
hasn't been part of the core group yet. He hasn't been
no.
made part
He's
of
not
that group.
Debo.
He's not Deebo Samuel. He immediately after the Super Bowl, what did he tweet out or on Instagram? He said, "Don't forget what got you here." They targeted Deebo Samuel 11 times. Brandon Ayuk disappeared in the Super Bowl. Only had 3 catches per game in the
In the playoffs.
playoffs,
Mhm.
right? So Brandon Ayuk, it's been reported by multiple people I've talked to as well, that Brandon Ayuk wants to be a featured part of the offense, no matter where he goes. So it's money, and it's also he believes that he has not reached his potential with the 49ers, despite having great numbers, having a great season. He believes he could be one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL if he was put in a position to do so. And I think that's part of also the 49ers. They appreciate him. They love what he does, but they also realize that he's not ever going to be the featured player in this offense when you have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and the kind of offense they run. So it's more than money for Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, the money will solve all problems. If they paid him enough, 30 million, he'll sign on the line. But there's more to it. He didn't appreciate being put in the doghouse. That's not bullshit BS. That
Mhm.
is real. Like he did not like that whole
Mhm.
thing. He did not like not being targeted in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
All those things are real, and people need to understand that that all comes into play. So when he's negotiating, he's like, "I want 30 million because I know I can get it, or trade me." That's kind of
Right.
how I think Brandon Ayuk is right now.
Yeah, like finally acknowledge how much you've underplayed me. But the Niners won't. Like this is if this feels like a stare down between Brandon and Kyle, and it's like Brandon almost pleading with Kyle to acknowledge how good he is, and Kyle saying, "No, I don't think you're that good. I wanted Justin Jefferson. I tried to trade for Justin Jefferson this offseason before I tried to extend your contract. And then I drafted Ricky Pearsall. Like, you're so replaceable to me." It feels very personal, and it feels like this is headed toward divorce. If not this year, then next year. I don't see Ayuk signing an extension. I just don't.
If Brandon Ayuk was never put in the doghouse, if he was targeted in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, and if the 49ers were really all in on him, they would have said, "Here's 26 million from the get-go. Like, let's do this thing. We
Mhm.
love you." They wouldn't have drafted Ricky Pearsall. They wouldn't have shopped him to trade him in the draft. All those things come into play when you're negotiating now. The 49ers drafted Ricky Pearsall and Cowing, 2 wide receivers. A lot of people thought it's to replace Deebo Samuel, and it may end up being that way. But if they were all in on Brandon Ayuk, I'm not sure they spend their first round draft pick on a wide receiver when you still have Deebo under a contract for 1 more year. That So I think the 49ers aren't all in. I think there's not a common like mental understanding between these guys like it was with Debo and Kyle Shanahan. There's no question they wanted to sign Debo, and that he was part of Kyle's offense. But with Brandon Ayuk, there's always been some resistance. Brandon Ayuk's kind of like that. Like I'm the same way. Like resist authority a little bit. Like I'm gonna go out there do my job. Let me do me. I'm gonna do all the right things for you. I'm gonna block. I'm gonna bust my ass. I'm gonna come in shape. Let me do me. And then this whole like I'm gonna put you in the doghouse thing because you're not doing this right or that right. I'm not gonna target you in the Super Bowl. Like that stuff bothers people like Brandon Ayuk with his personality. And I think there's a little bit of anxiety. What's the word? A little chip on Brandon Ayuk's shoulder because of that. So it's not just money.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan wants to empower Brandon like that. I mean, he doesn't want Brandon to be the top dog in the offense. And Brandon wants to be the top dog in the offense. It's Christian, and then it's Debo. And then it might be Brandon after that. I mean, in Kyle's eyes, does he want to change that? That's the way he saw it 3 months ago. So I don't know. It just feels like they're holding on 1 year too long. This feels like a divorce. He doesn't want to be here. You don't want to pay him what he's worth. Let him go. But you want to get back to the Super Bowl. You don't want to change your team. So you take this third option of, well, let's just keep Ayuk 1 more year and he'll be pissed, but he'll get over it. And he's going to want to play because he's going to want to earn more money and he'll be here and he'll play in spite of us, whatever. We'll give it 1 more go. I just don't. It feels like the wrong way. This doesn't feel like how they win the Super Bowl. The first time in 30 years, this is how they do it with, last year was the year. Last year were all the good vibes. They were all together. They were a team. They believed in each other. No one was asking for money. This year, it's like, it's a whole different thing. It just doesn't feel like this is leading up to the 6th Lombardi.
And again, we don't know what the guarantee is. We don't know what they're guaranteeing, like Brandon Ayuk. And that's a big part of this for them. So, they could say they released the $26 million part of it, but why didn't you release the guarantee that you're offering him? And that may be the holdup too. Like $26 million is great, but how much of that is guaranteed? And that may be where Brandon Ayuk's coming from also.